Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, and this is virtual lunch number 586. Our guest today is Alitia Faccone, the Director of Business Development at Jackson Lewis. And this is part of our series on revenue operations with Nexel. Hi, Alitia. How are you?
Hey, Ari. It's really great to see you. And thank you all for having me here today. It's great fun.
I would love to give you a very quick overview. So we will start with Sean.
I'm Sean with Nexel. Previous life was in corporate immigration law and made the switch to legal marketing tech because I'm excited about the disruption that's coming to the industry.
I'm the Director of Business Development. I've been here 5.5 years. Most of my career has been spurred on by taking on new challenges, doing different things. I was a practicing lawyer, litigator, ultimately became an e-discovery lawyer. I was in the game for a really long time, which really allowed me to get a basic understanding and appreciation, I think, for digital information, although originally from a defensive standpoint. But as the world was changing to a much more digitally focused world, it really gave me the opportunity to think about things, from a marketing perspective. And once I sort of dabbled in marketing while I was still practicing law, I decided that was where I wanted to go next. I've been in BD and marketing now for more years than I care to counter admit, but been at Jackson Lewis for a good long 5.5 year run, which is amazing. Right. I hope that it makes me more empathetic as somebody in business development and marketing. Back when I was practicing and when I was a senior associate, one of the senior partners that I worked with a lot, we'd get to the end of the fiscal year, we'd have worked really hard and we have billed all our time and we have brought in new cases and clients. And as a litigator, right, that's incredibly difficult to do because there's not a lot of repeat business all the time, depending on what your practice is. And we get to the last day of the fiscal year and oh my God, it starts all over again tomorrow. And I'd say, can we just have a couple of hours where we can enjoy and a little bit of rest on our laurels before we feel that constant stress and pressure about going out and doing it all over again? Getting new cases, getting new clients, working really hard. And I always remember that. And I understand what it feels like while you're still working really hard. You're taking the calls from clients, you're going to court, you're doing all of the things. And in the back of your mind, you're going, okay, but I got to do more. I got to get more. Where's the next one coming from? Where's the next one coming from? Even just talking about it right now, my stomach's getting tied up in knots. I think I bring a lot to that mindset based on what I understand, having lived through it, and the pressures between bill and build. And what I mean by build is obvious, and build meaning building relationship and how you really need to do that to not only keep the work coming in, but hopefully eventually take some of that pressure off, right? So that, you could do your job and really enjoy it, which I think a lot of us do. Otherwise, we still wouldn't be in this business all these years on. I think the work starts with us. I think the work starts with the business development and marketing professionals, because I think so often we're focused on how can we convert people? How can we get people to understand? How can we get people to think about business development in a real way versus the general sort of bucket of marketing and what that means. Like I did a presentation, I wrote an article, I'm done with my business development for the year, when all of us know that there's a difference and there's a lot more complexity to it. So I think, one of the jobs that we have is to take each lawyer where we find them. So when I conduct business development training, and again, I love these words, although, they can appear somewhat jargony, but I really encourage lawyers to be authentic in their interactions with clients and colleagues. And listen, there are exceptions to the rule, luck being one of them, inheriting a book of business being another. By the way, I was never lucky enough to inherit a book of business, but I think that the more authentic we are, the more meaningful and lasting those connections and that relationship development can be. And in the world of professional services and clients, right, the pentultimate is loyalty. Having your clients be loyal to you and the firm, which I think comes only from not only doing good work, which we all know is like the baseline for everything, but building relationships based on trust and true meaningful connection. So I'm going to go a little further. I'm a big fan, and maybe you guys have talked about this in the past, the Simon Sinek TED Talk from 2014, right? And start with why. And the mantra that people don't buy what you do, but why you do it. And so I've also never been a big fan of teaching people how to create an elevator speech or even using the term elevator speech, because I think it really focuses people on the what. I am an e-discovery lawyer. I am a labor and employment lawyer, and I work at Jackson Lewis. That is definitely the what. That is definitely something that I don't know how many other tens of thousands of lawyers in the United States of America do. But I think if you're willing to talk about the why and answer your own personal why, I think that translates to when you allow yourself to engage in relationship development and business development, there's way more of an opportunity for a connection that can lead to something more meaningful. I think we can do it in attorney bio. I encourage people, and in fact, I'm doing this training in a couple of weeks, and I pulled out my slide deck recently to make sure that it was still relevant and on point. But at Jackson Lewis, over the past couple of years, when we work on a bio with somebody, we ask them a whole bunch of different questions. And of course, it includes questions about what are you really focused on in your practice and different aspects of labor and employment law, but really also to answer some personal questions. What motivated you to become a labor and employment lawyer? What motivates you generally? How can you take some of that information and in a meaningful and authentic way, and I'm probably going to repeat that word a lot as we continue our conversation today, how you can really, even in a static web bio, share more about who you are, open yourself up to other people learning about who you are and how they can connect with you on a true and personal level. And listen, the statistics are still out there, whether it's 75% or 80% these days, who knows from day to day, but all of that traffic goes right to attorney bio. So I think you can start there, really being authentic about who you are, really sharing what your why is about and not just what you do. I think one of the reasons that I've been at Jackson Lewis so long is that there is a real focus on communication. Even though we have 1,000 lawyers, our compensation system is structured so that it encourages people picking up the phone and calling a lawyer in Birmingham or San Francisco or New York or Greenville, South Carolina, and making sure the client gets the right answer to the right question in the right jurisdiction. I do think that we all struggle with, and we do struggle at Jackson Lewis, with getting information out. And I think it comes from a variety of different reasons, not the least of which is lack of time, not the least of which is pressure, what we deal with every day, how we even filter our own email inbox. And one of the things that we struggle with internally is how and when do we use a certain communication channel to get out information, and how could we duplicate that effort through other communication channels so that we're reaching the people that we need to reach and getting the information that we need to reach. It is a conversation that we have all the time, and really a particular focus right now, which is how can we create efficiencies, especially when you're talking about 1,000 lawyers. How can you create efficiencies without slowing down the pipeline, and also making sure that we reach the right people who are going to consume the content? I think it's an understatement to say that people have not enough time, and they have even less time since the pandemic hit. And so I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the way in which we're moving and how we're thinking about relationship development, how we're thinking about collaborating internally and externally. And for me, it's not so much a generational difference, but a generational motivation that's hopefully continuing to let us all work together, no matter how we approach what we do every day.
Alitia Faccone, everybody. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you also to the team at Nexel for supporting our series on revenue operations. What a great conversation. I really appreciate it.